Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Katz and Cosby, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Who do we have on today?
Yeah, we have with us right now Professor Alan Dershowitz, the great constitutional expert. And Professor Dershowitz, what do you make of this troubling trend with the Democratic Socialists of America? Some of the rhetoric that we've heard, especially in the last few days, it's all anti-Israel.
Well, it's worse. It's Nazi rhetoric that finds its origin back in the Dreyfus trial when they portrayed supporters of Dreyfus and Jews as monsters. Monster is a term that Goebbels used, that anti-Semites have used for 150 years, and Mamdani knows that. And when you call people monsters, by the way, you're calling everybody on the show a monster. I'm a monster. You're a monster. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Mamdani monster. All you have to do is be a supporter of Israel, a supporter of AIPAC. I'm a proud supporter of AIPAC. I've spoken at their events. I'll continue to speak at their events. I'll continue to contribute to them, and I'm not a monster. I'm a patriotic, loyal American who strongly believes that support for Israel is in America's best interest. So we have to fight back against interest. We have to put this Poetica coffee shop out of business, just the way I put the pierogi guy out of business on Martha's Vineyard. Remember a year ago, this pierogi guy, the guy who was selling good pierogies, they were pretty terrible, wouldn't sell me because I'm a Zionist. So I protested and threatened a lawsuit, and he's now out of business, essentially. He is not opening a stand at the farmer's market anymore, and we have to do the same thing with Poetica, and ultimately we have to do the same thing with Mamdani. We have to put him out of business.
Well, Professor, later on we have John Levine.
John Levine, right,
on.
Journalist.
He did a detailed study on this person, and I understand from John Levine he owes $400,000 in taxes.
$800,000.
$800,000 in taxes.
Isn't that shocking? $800,000 in back taxes to New York State.
And he probably has, rat-infested, who the hell knows? I mean, people who make statements like that obviously are irresponsible, and you shouldn't buy coffee or anything from them on political grounds and on personal grounds. If I were living in New York today, I'm on Martha's Vineyard, but I would go to that store with a television camera and with a shirt saying I'm a proud Zionist and try to have them not serve me and then bring a lawsuit.
In fact,
New York law prohibits discrimination on a variety of grounds, and every liberal in the world was opposed to the cake shop that wouldn't sell gays or wouldn't make cakes for gays, and of course we all opposed efforts by Southern coffee shops not to serve blacks. I remember the first time I went to New Orleans, and I was with an African American professor, and we went for a drink in New Orleans. This was not in the 40s. This was in the middle 60s, and they wouldn't serve us sitting together at a bar, and they wouldn't serve him sitting alone. We couldn't even take the same cab together. Do we want a repeat of that? Do we want these bigoted, anti-Semitic coffee shops to be able to be open in New York? No, I don't think so. And, because ultimately what you're going to have is every shop in New York is going to have restrictions. We won't serve this. We won't serve that. We won't serve the other people. You can only have coffee if you agree with us 100%. Remember, the shop not only said it won't serve pro-Israel people, but it gave a whole list of people it won't serve. Obviously, it also won't pay its taxes. And so you have to shut it down. There's no alternative but to shut it down.
Well, I think the state must shut it down. If they owe $800,000, I'm sure they don't have the $800,000 to pay.
Well, they should make them pay immediately, and if not, shut them down.
Civil rights, calling New York State. I mean, our studio's here, and I think the New York State offices are 2 blocks up. So, let's send that message out there.
Same rules have to apply as if they refuse to serve a black person or a gay person.
And by the way, Professor, there's also a federal judge, one where the DOJ is looking into it.
Right, the Civil Rights Division has launched an investigation on this.
No, I know that.
Which is good news.
Actually spoke to the Justice Department.
There you go. I want to raise this issue with you, Alan. It's different, but it's very, very important. You remember the New York State legislation signed by this governor had the anti-ICE legislation that ICE officials can't wear masks and that the local governments cannot cooperate, have cooperation agreements. Well, New York, that's being challenged. There's a lawsuit brought against the state and the state attorney general on that, the governor and the state legislature and the whole state. And there's a countersuit by the state against the federal government on that as well. So that's going to be very interesting. What are your thoughts?
Oh, there's no question. The Supremacy Clause overrules even the Posse Comitatus statute, but clearly a statute that goes as far as this New York statute goes is plainly in violation of the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. Again, it's just like what happened in the South in the 1950s when Governor Wallace said, our police will not cooperate with attempts to desegregate the state. And everybody was on one side of that issue, and now the same people are on the opposite side of this issue. So, there's hypocrisy all around. But we have to end this. I mean, this is 1932 Nazi Germany. It starts slow. It starts with you can stop serving Jews. You can stop admitting them to universities. You can stop doing this. You can stop doing that. Ultimately, 1932 becomes 1938, Kristallnacht, unless it stopped, and 1940, Auschwitz, unless it stopped. And I'm not suggesting that we're on the road to that, but I am suggesting we have to stop it here and now. We have to put these bigoted companies out of business. We have to make sure that Mamdani is not reelected, that he is destroying the city of New York. He's turning it into a Nazi paradise, calling Jews monsters. My God, who would have ever imagined that? And remember, he called every one of us a monster because I think, everybody on this show supports Israel. And we're not monsters. We're loyal and patriotic Americans whose parents and grandparents fought for America. And how dare Mamdani call us monsters?
And by the way, we have a little bit of breaking news. This is interesting coming from Capitol Hill.
Breaking news, WABC.
The U.S. Senate has approved war powers resolution. This challenges President Trump's Iran war authority. Explain sort of what this means. A similar measure went through the House. Yeah. So what does this mean, Professor?
It means absolutely nothing. It's simply a resolution. Apparently 4 Republicans joined all the Democrats.
Actually, Fetterman voted to against the resolution. Thank goodness.
Good. And
who are the 4 Republicans?
The 4 Republicans: Susan Collins of Maine, of course, she's got the tough race there. Lisa Murkowski, Bill Cassidy, and Rand Paul of Kentucky are the 4 Republicans.
Those are the 4 usual suspects. It means nothing. It says that that President Trump must end the war or must come to Congress for approval. That's inconsistent with Article 1 of the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution says there's only one commander-in-chief. He's the one who determines when wars end and what battles should be conducted. And so, Congress can
our millions of listeners listening. The resolution from the Senate means nothing.
Nothing.
They're just looking for their own sort of publicity. And tell us again, it violates Article 1 of the Constitution.
Article 2 of the Constitution that says that the commander-in-chief determines activities in war, determines when to end the war. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt decided to end the war, he didn't seek permission of Congress, obviously. It was easy to start the war because the Japanese Air Force invaded Pearl Harbor, and there wasn't something like that here. But, we fought every war since the Second World War without a declaration of Congress. And that's clearly established the governing precedent. And
clearly, Alan, the War Powers Act is unconstitutional.
Every president has said that. Obama has said that. Biden has said that. Clinton has said that. Every president, no matter Democrat or Republican, knows that the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. And it violates the power of the president as commander-in-chief. You can't have 535 commanders-in-chief. You have to have one commander-in-chief. Every country has one commander-in-chief. Ours happens to be the president. In some countries, it's the prime minister. Winston Churchill conducted the war against Nazi Germany. He conducted it over the objection of many in Parliament, but he won the war, and that was what's important. And we're all hoping that President Trump will win this war, or will win the peace one way or another. But he's the one who makes those decisions. He makes diplomatic decisions, foreign policy decisions, and military decisions.
So everybody should know that it's not constitutional and it doesn't mean anything. And you heard it first from Professor Dershowitz on WABC.
Yep. And I completely support President Trump when he says everybody should listen to WABC.
Yeah, by the way, we agree with that, too, very much, Professor.
Yeah, but probably there are some people who would say President Trump needs a congressional resolution before he could say that people should listen to ABC. But that's
that's right. True. That's true. They probably would say that. Professor, we love you. It's great to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And don't buy coffee from that place.
Absolutely not.
No coffee.
No coffee. No coffee from Poetica.